Hello and welcome to this training video on the consumer duty. With obviously the deadlines coming through April 30th and we've got the end of July for full implementation. I'm putting this together so that you can take a look at the full automation across the consumer duty diagnostic phase, where you're diagnosing where you believe you are as a business and where you need to be, then the gap analysis phase, and then the audit report phase. And that whole process is automated on Model Office. We cover all the key angles across and strategies that you need to implement across the consumer duty, the 4 outcomes, and data and MI practice as well. And you can see here on the screen, you've got the 5 regulatory keys, and we have placed the consumer duty here in your engagement. So we click on your engagement and we'll click into the question sets here. This is where you're diagnostically assessing where you believe you are against the key rules and regulations, in this case against the consumer duty. You'll have answer options like so, Likert scale of we have this as above the required level, below the required level, unsure, plan to have it, don't have it. You'll also have yes, no's and A's depending on what you're being asked as you run through it. So as you run through, then you're answering the key questions across key topics that the FCA will want you to ensure that you've addressed within the consumer duty. So here you've got a key issue regarding the senior manager's conduct rules, and obviously looking at the integration or the relationship with the SMNCR. And any more technical question sets will have pop-up resources that you can click on, and that will take you straight through to the rules and regulations. So there's no messing around with Google and so forth in the handbook. It takes you straight to the source of why it's important and why you need to know it and where it is across the whole of the relevant rules across the consumer duty. And don't forget, we cover all the rules and regulations, so it's the same principle applies to anything that you want to assess yourself against, such as the ESG, MIFID, advice suitability, and so forth. So once you've kind of answered all those question sets, what we now want you to do is really take a look at how you've performed. And what we've got here is 3 benchmarks. We're benchmarking you against where the FCA believe that you should be. And we've got a heat mapping process here from low to high strength. And then we've got an industry benchmark about how all the good firms are, if you like, doing on the platform, how they're performing and how the best are performing in this particular area. And we, at the moment we've got over 1,200 firms on Model Office, so there's good validity there. And then we've got a 1-year target to showcase how you're getting on. Below here, you've got the business functions across this particular regulatory key, your engagement. So you've got the business functions and the scores against those individual business functions. So here you've got the consumer duty, data and MI monitoring and reporting, and it's from obviously lowest score to highest score down here, depending on the areas that we are assessing or you're assessing yourself on. And the key issue with this is that you can click onto any of these areas. So if you go to the general consumer duty area, for example, 43%, that's an average strength. Looking below here, what the algorithm then basically does, not only does it benchmark you against the key regulations and where the FCA feel that you should be, it's also giving you what we call dynamic steers. This is where it gets highly dynamic about how to improve your scores on an ongoing basis. So here you've got resources into the FCA sites. You've also got resources into the rule book as well. You've also got resources in to key information about understanding, the guides that we've produced. We've also got a risk management template that you can download and apply to your business straight away. It's a Word document template, so you can apply it and white label it and do what you will. But this looks at a granular view on how you're managing risk across the consumer duty. This looks at the 4 outcomes as well as other areas, but you've got inherent, residual, target risk, actions, person responsible, completed date. You've got all the key issues here taken from the rules and the guidance papers. You've got URL links in here. The same principle applies across all Model Office outputs, that you get the URL to the evidence of why it's important. What is it you need to know? And not only do you have the 4 outcomes in here, but you've also got key issues around data and what data and MI that you need to be assessing, identifying and assessing and improving and reporting on. You've also got relationship with other regulations, SMCR, collective investment scheme, product governance, advisor training and competence regulations, And you've also got the key issues surrounding culture, governance and accountability. So that's an example of some of the output that we provide on the system. And once you've run through all these areas, what you're then encouraged to do is take a look at the action tracker. Now, the action tracker is really your gap analysis, automated gap analysis and audit report. So we click on action tracker. All the question sets in Model Office are rated by ex-FCA professionals: red, high risk significant rule breach; amber, medium risk rule breach; and then green, good practice. And that's a static RAG rating system. And what we want to do is avoid overwhelm. So we've got filter functions here. So you can start to filter these down to think, right, okay, well, we can look at all the reds first, or the ambers, or the greens. But let's take a look at your engagement key and the consumer duty, because that's what we're focused on here. So you can see here, you can start to filter down into the key areas that Model Office scrutinises your firm against and benchmarks your firm against. So you've got consumer duty, products and services, price and value, consumer support, understanding, and data and MI. Understanding reporting. So what we're interested here, for example, you can click on products and services, and it will then filter it right down so that you've got the key issues that you need to look at to ensure that you're improving, and you've got the evidence and the audit trail that you're improving throughout. So you can click on any of these areas, and what Model Office will then do is encourage you to improve your answer. You can add this into your calendar, so it will appear as an alert in your calendar. It gives you a target remedy date, which is the reds have 3 months to get done, the ambers 6 months, and the greens 9 months. But obviously with the deadlines, then it will give you a ticking clock, if you like, until April and July. With the consumer duty, person responsible is the most senior person responsible for any particular area, and then you can give it a status: on track, delayed, severely delayed. I can't complete this until we've got this to the right level and you've got the most senior person in there. And you can also add notes in here. And on the enterprise version, as well as adding a note into the system, you can drag and drop relevant files in here. So again, it's creating that audit trail for you as a business as you move through. Just give you a quick other example on here. So if we go to consumer duty, this particular one has what we call checkpoints. So this is really building the bridge between those dynamic steers of how to improve your scores. And again, this is more of a triple lock that you've basically got in here, that you've got to answer it to the right level. You've got to add the most senior person in here. You've got to check all your checkpoints, and then you can answer it and move on. But you're never going to lose anything on the action tracker, because any question that you've answered correctly or it's been completed at outset, you'll always have them for perpetuity. So again, it's really good audit trail. And you can also filter it down by person responsible, and also the answers, that options that you've got throughout the system. Final thing I'll show you is our integration with IntelliFlow. We've got Iris to follow very shortly, and hopefully Curo, time for advice. And here this integrates with IntelliFlow. Press the search button, put a client name in, for example, click on that particular client name. The algorithm will go in, as it has done, into the client file and relevant client data points, and then it will segment those data points across the 4 outcomes, and it will then RAG rate those data points across parent data fields, which are on the left-hand side of these grey lines across each of the 4 outcomes, and then it will give the overall RAG rating score based on the child scores. So here, what we're looking at, for example, red flag, there's no service cases in this particular client. That is a red flag for consumer duty purposes, because obviously we can flag up in here vulnerability owners, and has the client got any vulnerabilities, for example. Fees, there's nothing at all in what we've classed as the algorithm's classed as price and value. So fees, we'd expect some data to be input there. So what the system is doing is saying there's lots of missing values, or it's low to high value in that system. So what it's doing is answering the question around understanding, identifying the data that's important for you to report on, the quality of that data, helping you improve the quality of the data, because if you go in and update that data through, in this case, IntelliFlow, it will then obviously give you a higher score, and it will allow you then to showcase how you can report on that data to support good client outcomes. Thank you for your time. Any questions, please email us at info@model-office.co.uk.